I'm going to invite our third finalist, who is a senior architectural studies student who is mentored by a number of alums, including Ira Goldschmidt, Hobart alum, who's the owner of Goldschmidt Engineering Solutions. Matthew Mead has created a company called Hempitechure. Please welcome Maddie to the stage.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Matthew Mead, and tonight I'm going to share my vision for an environmentally ethical approach to architecture. As I begin, I'd like you all to consider that during every second of this presentation, 2.4 million pounds of carbon dioxide are being released into the atmosphere. The United States building sector accounts for 46.7% of our domestic carbon production. Why is it that our homes, the buildings we work in, live in, and learn in, are such dramatic contributors to climate change? Is it because maybe you didn't turn a lamp off before you left your room tonight? Or maybe the heat is on, your window's wide open? Or maybe the problem's much deeper than that. Perhaps it's a fundamental flaw in how we perceive modern building and energy consumption. What if I told you the carbon footprint of the building sector could be mitigated by the use of a rapidly renewable and carbon-negative raw material? This raw material, with an estimated 50,000 uses, from automotive panels to building materials and textiles, is industrial hemp. Unfortunately, hemp production was outlawed in 1937, and since then, its vast potential has been mostly forgotten from mainstream American thought. In our 21st century society, where we are capable and morally responsible for ethical decisions that impact our environment, do you believe that antiquated and misguided legislation should stand in the way of modern, progressive, and truly sustainable solutions? I don't, and that's why I'm here tonight to tell you about my company, Hempitechure. In the simplest sense, Hempitechure is an innovation and design company that develops building materials made primarily from hemp fiber. By building with hemp fiber, we can avoid using unsustainable materials that have a high carbon footprint. Our impact on the environment due to our consumption of natural resources is evident. We must transition our conceptions of architecture towards a practice that is harmonious with nature. Building with hemp is the most effective way to build in harmony with nature because of its carbon negative and rapidly renewable qualities. As the UK and other European countries continue to mainstream hemp as a sustainable practice, the United States remains behind the apex of this growing industry. In December of 2012, a London university awarded its commission for its new state-of-the-art research center to the prestigious architecture firm Archetype. This building, hailed as the most sustainable and energy-efficient building in the entire United Kingdom, is built with hemp. I reference this project to ground my idea in a factual reality, as a method that is being chosen by Europe's brightest architects who are making strides to mitigate the building sector's impact on our climate. The primary product Hempitechure intends to take to market is called Fiber Interblock. Fiber Interblock is a biodegradable, carbon-negative, and insulating alternative to conventional building block systems. This block has an interlocking design that is meant to increase efficiency in the construction process, ultimately lowering the labor cost. The interlocking blocks can be likened to Legos. The extrusions allow the next block to join firmly in place with subsequent blocks. Once stacked to the necessary height, the voids of the blocks can be poured with reinforced concrete to create a structurally stable and energy-efficient building. The most valuable quality of Fiber Interblock is its excellent thermal and insulation properties, making it a superior insulating component. A hemp wall with a thickness of around 12 inches has a significantly high R value of around 25, and this is without any additional insulation or external finishing. The health of a home is directly tied to the materials that it is made with. Hempitecture's products will be made from organic materials and would never incorporate toxic chemicals like formaldehyde found in most modern building materials. Hempitechure has considered a wide variety of bonding agents to solidify the fiber interblock into its desired form. The most commonly used binder for hemp construction is lime. However, lime has a significantly high carbon footprint. Hempitechure is seeking the most progressively sustainable methods to create its products with the goal of minimizing the building sector's impact on our climate. With the guidance of one of my entrepreneurial mentors, Hobart graduate J.B. Blanchard, I have developed a connection to Solidia Technologies, a sustainable technology company that has a revolutionary process that will enable Hempitechure to create a hemp building product unlike any other in the world. Solidia has a high-performance bonding agent that is made mostly from natural minerals like calcium silicate. Solidia materials are stronger than concrete, they are lightweight, and they are fireproof. Fiber interblock, comprised of both hemp fiber and the Solidia binder, will be hardened through a low-temperature solidification system. In this process, the raw hemp fiber and the Solidia binding matrix are combined within proportion. The mixture can then be placed into a mold to create the desired shape. The block is then hardened by introducing pressurized carbon to the block, causing a molecular reaction that actually embodies up to 20% of the block's volume in carbon. Hempitechure has a clear vision as to how this product will be taken to market, originating from the initial concept. The $10,000 granted by the pitch is absolutely needed as seed money to fulfill the necessary business prerequisites. Hempitechure must file for an LLC, and Hempitechure must be trademarked immediately. Financial support will also allow me to bring the design to the level of specificity required for beginning a patent application. These actions will further legitimize Hempitechure and position Hempitechure to receive capital investments. I recognize that Hempitechure is a long-term endeavor, but it cannot be catalyzed without this $10,000 grant. Following these necessary prerequisites, Hempitechure will develop an already established connection with Grinnell Incorporated, the Northeast's largest producer of stone and concrete blocks. Grinnell is already licensed to use Solidia's technology, so partnering with them will be an easily integrated process. I estimate that when the intellectual property rights are filed and necessary capital is acquired, Hempitechure will go into the initial production and testing phase of fiber interblock within 1 year. And Hempitecture's fiber interblock will be marketed as a progressively sustainable building material to the rapidly growing green building industry. I am at the ground floor of a movement that is picking up speed. This past November, Colorado legalized the production of industrial hemp, and in February, Kentucky announced similar legislation that would also allow the legalization of domestic hemp production. The success of Hempitechure, however, is not contingent on a domestic shift in legality. But when the U.S. does transition to hemp production, hemp's versatility will carry over to the building sector, and Hempitechure will already have its own pre-established niche. Fiber interblock is just one of the many hemp product ideas I have conceived, and the potential for more is vast. I already have experience in starting a business from the ground up, and from this experience, I learned to dream even bigger. I wanted to take a challenging problem and solve it in an innovative way that benefits both society and the environment. In the 8 minutes I have spent here telling you about Hempitechure, 1.1 billion pounds of carbon dioxide have been released into the atmosphere. It is possible to live in a world where this is not the case, where our homes and buildings we work, live in, and play in are built in balance with nature. Hempitechure is not just a company. It's a company that wants to change the way our society thinks about building with truly sustainable solutions. Thank you. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
How long do the blocks last?
They are biodegradable, but they're biodegradable in the sense that the raw materials that they are made from can be returned back to the earth. So the blocks would have to be thoroughly smashed, exposed to the elements. There's the life cycle product. The life cycle of the product is very long. I don't have a specific number, but just because of the fact they're biodegradable does not mean they're going to fall apart.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I have a couple of questions for you. Whenever there's a new product that's introduced, people have a hard time adjusting to change and incorporating that into whatever they've been doing. And you compared hemp to concrete. In terms of the price of hemp and also the availability of hemp and also people, incorporating this into, building, using it now. How long does it take for someone to start using it and learning how to use hemp? Can you talk to us about some of those items?
Essentially what I'm trying to do by designing fiber interblock is empower all architects and builders with a nominal architectural device, a block. All architects and builders know how to build with the block. There's no necessarily learning curve to it. The structural method for it may have to be adapted, but that will already be a solved piece of the puzzle for the people who will be using it. In the video that I showed, you saw that the blocks are poured with reinforced concrete. That's a quick, sustainable, easy method to create a strong structure. So there really is no learning curve to it. It's just a matter of designing the product and then specifying how the architect or builder is supposed to employ that in the structure.
Thank you.
I'd like to do a follow-up on that. I'm very interested in this idea, but I have a question about regulatory issues. Who determines whether this product can be actually used?
That's a great question, and there are many governing bodies of different sort of regulations. The largest one is ASTM standards, and they basically decide if it can be used in a building or not. There's only one domestic competitor for hemp construction in the United States. So there already is one company. However, they use a not very environmentally sound method, but Hempitechure intends to improve on that and offer a solution to builders and architects with a more sustainable
Well,
method.
actually, it's the towns and cities that regulate this. And that's your problem, because you're going to have to get the codes changed in lots of local jurisdictions in this country.
I don't believe that I would have to have the codes changed because I don't think that there's anything that would.
If you want to replace cinder blocks with this, I think you would. But there's a way out of this problem. And there is an organization at NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, that deals with building materials. So those are the people you want to go to try to get your product through the whole system and work with the American Builders Association or something like that.
Thank you for that advice. Appreciate that.
To Duncan's point, I do a little building out in Southampton, and they're a funny bunch, the municipalities.
I guess an addition put on.
Yeah, and it's going to take an awful lot of testing. Number one, is my building going to biodegrade that I'm building?
No, absolutely not. The Solidia binding matrix is extremely strong. It is more lightweight and stronger than concrete. Solidia's technology is already being used as a binding matrix for a variety of other materials. Just because the two things by themselves are biodegradable does not mean that they're just going to fall apart. When I say biodegradable, I only reference that to analyze it from a life cycle perspective point. After the building use is done, the hemp and the blocks could be smashed up and essentially turned into fertilizer for the ground.
The follow-up question to that is mostly in business, people, even though in concept it's a nice idea of the carbon footprint, but really people in business are concerned with the bottom line and their cost. Can I make money? And they're not going to prefer a building material that's 3 times the cost just because it's green. Have you done any work with how this compares to the building supplies that are currently used today?
I understand that perspective, and just using the example of the other company that is doing hemp construction, they are competitive with other building methods, but we're looking at this product from a value-added perspective. Fiber interblock, while it might be more expensive, however, I would like it to be competitive with most other blocks. While it might be a little bit more expensive, the value-added perspective says that if you spend more money on the initial building and construction of your home for materials that are environmentally friendly as well as energy efficient, you're going to save a lot of money in the long run from energy savings that would essentially be thrown out the window or through the wall in this
But
case.
how much more is this product? What percentage more is this product than the stuff that's used today? Cinder blocks, drywall, et cetera.
It's difficult to pin that number down exactly because the nature of this is there's so many partnerships that are not necessarily fixed yet. but I do feel that the Hempitecture's fiber interblock will be able to be competitive with other blocks because hemp is not very expensive, and hemp is being grown widespread in Canada. There's biofiber refineries in Canada that are popping up all over the place that are looking to unload this product to other markets. The United States market is a whole untapped market for this, and I think the consumer trends are trending towards green products that are truly sustainable.
You did a great job.
Thank you.